Transmitting live from Naluru Estate in Tamale, the northern regional capital, this is Zamide News live on ZA TV with me, Jonas Biaurbi. Coming up this afternoon, Chairman of Public Accounts Committee asked government to explain how banks will conduct internal audit after e-levy comments. Association of Ghana bemoan unavailability of subsidized fertilizer to farmers for this year's crop season. And on the foreign front this afternoon, Somalia set date for long-awaited presidential elections. These stories and many more others coming up shortly in the bulletin. Do stay with us. My name is Jonas Biaurbi. The news is also live on Facebook and YouTube, ZA TV Ghana. Beginning this afternoon, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana has bemoaned the unavailability of subsidized fertilizer to farmers for this year's crop season due to outstanding debts owed by suppliers by the government. The head of programs and advocacy for the association, Dr. Charles Nyaba, said the suppliers are no longer willing to supply fertilizers at a subsidized cost because huge amount government owes them. He revealed that government owes the suppliers an outstanding debt of 346 million Ghana cedis since 2020.
The fertilizer Nyaba said are not willing to supply the standard fertilizer at the moment because the government still owes suppliers 86 million Ghana cedis. The government, he added, also owes suppliers 260 million for 2021. According to him, the fertilizer suppliers have complained about the situation, stating that they also have to go to banks to get loans to bring the fertilizer. The Peasant Farmers Association head of programs is therefore pleading with the government to settle the suppliers' debts so that fertilizer deliveries to farmers could continue this year.
Now, the Ghana Meteorological Agency is warning of a rainstorm expected to hit parts of the country on Friday, May 6, 2022. The chief forecaster at the Ghana, Ahiyafenyo, says Greater Accra will experience its share later in the day. Madam Ahiyafenyo explained that the weather is not good for outdoor activities. She explained and warned fishermen to be extra careful when going out for fishing, adding that Sunday is going to have a Now, a former General Secretary of the new Patriotic Party, NPP, Kwabena Ejapong, says Ghana does not need more than 9 justices of the Supreme Court. Currently, there are 16 justices of the Supreme Court, including the Chief Justice, but Mr. Ejapong said there should be a cap on the number of justices in the country. On the issue of whether or not Ghana needs a new constitution, he said he does not think Ghana.
Some Ghanaians, including members of the Economic Fighters League, have said the current constitution of Ghana is to blame for what they describe as rot, suffering, and ill governance being experienced in the country, which, according to them, gives life to retrogression and discrimination. In a statement on Mark Constitution Day, the fighters said the 1992 Constitution was deliberately drafted and adopted at the forefront of the demand for a new constitution, saying the current one has put Ghanaians through 30 years of retrogressive governance, constitutional dictatorship, poverty, and underdevelopment. To buttress their demands, the fighters said every constitution must be the foundation upon which freedoms are built, which they say is unfortunately missing in Ghana's constitution.
Now, Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, Mr. James Kluche Aveji, asked the government to explain how banks will conduct internal audit after the e-levy has begun. The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has failed to amend its law that will allow auditing through the e-levy transaction. He revealed that the PAC has started referring procurement breaches and misappropriation to the Attorney General for prosecution. Mr. Aveji was speaking at the 2022 Annual National Internal Audit and Governance Conference in Accra yesterday. The controversial levy started on Sunday, May 1, amidst public outcry. Now, Chairman of the National Media Commission, Yao Buadu Ayebuafo, says the rights of journalists in Ghana are not more important than the rights of other persons in the country. To that end, he says journalists must be ready to compensate for the damages they inflict on the rights of others while doing their work.
Speaking at an event to mark the World Press Freedom Day in Accra, he said journalists must be allowed to do their work without any interference. Money, for his part, said that the media serves as the oxygen for Ghana's democracy. He explained that if the democracy of Ghana is not being torn in many places, then it is an indication of a vibrant Ghanaian media. He asked the law enforcers to deal with persons who attack journalists. Ghana has performed poorly in the latest press freedom ranking, dropping 30 places from 2021 to rank 60th on World Press Freedom Index 2022 with a score of 67.43. The report cited government's intolerance, a situation that forced journalists to engage in heavy self-censorship in the line with their duty.
You're still live here on ZA TV. This is ZA Midday News with me, Jonas Biauribi. Let's do some more stories. Now, even in the era where everything is done through the use of mobile phones, Pelumbo, a community in the West Gonja municipality of the Savannah region, still live without telecommunication. Residents converge at a center for the community where mobile phones are tied on a wood in search of network to make calls. There is more in the following report. In the West Gonja municipality of the Savannah region lies a community of Pelumbo. Over 500 people live here and none of them have a functional mobile phone network. These phones tied on the wood here is not for gigs and laughs, rather they are placed to search for network. All three telecommunication companies have practically zero reception here. Even when precariously placing phones on the hot sun around this wood, voice clarity is nil. Residents here,
when it is rain season time, too much, you will not get much network unless you go another village called Boyina. Between the road and between Boyina and Colombo, we have some mount there. We go and climb the mountain and get in that network. But if the rain season stop, that one there you get some few network in the Colombo. That one you have a tree to place there, so that if nobody come there, that one you get a place. You know that this place that they are making the call, and then you will be making that call there.
the residents say they do not understand why a community like Pelumbo does not have telecommunication network. They lament that in situations they cannot call for help. They are, however, hopeful that the Ministry of Communication will listen to the plight of the subject and do something about the situation.
If someone is sick and then you can't sit on the motorbike, you can come to, and then when that time you want to sit and hold that one, the person will lose the distance. So that at the point we need the network faster so that it can help us to. I mean, the hospital is very far from that village.
Social workers within the area also lament the situation is impacting negatively on their activities.
It can be part of the world. We are in a global village, but I'm not sure Pulimbo residents and the people here are still in a global village. They are cut off completely. The road network is not something we want to talk about, but at least if they can communicate, if they can reach out. I need to be doing some other things, but I cannot. I need to check some messages, I cannot. I need even to make a call, I cannot. So let's see how we can take it up. The MP, the MC, all the other people that are involved. But I think, this is just one community. This is Pelumbo, there's Bawina, there's Jifrono, there's Yazori, there's Murgu, there is Anyanto, all food staff. But because of the network, because there's no connectivity, we are not able to link up with these communities. And if we can do, the community will be grateful not just to us, and they will be grateful not just to themselves, but they will be useful to the nation in our national development and in our assessing whatever in the areas that we are working.
Reporting for ZA News, Jonas Biaurubi. Still live on ZA TV, this is ZA Midday News. On this note, we're going for a short break. I will return with some international news.
We are not a bomb bangsam. Hiding in a kunduna fueneba. Bangsam bonya talahi. And to so come. Then yet the more tamna solo. Kashilin say your cafe. Dimitri Akayam Bobangsam. Kapwell and a bang the Basani. Then in a Karanzongo Urama. Canadian Independent College. Karanzong Paraganyele. Karabe Watalu. Canada to Jarkatur the Bohanda. Kariam Melbe Timbala. Zangabina to talk Karanzongo. Cavalio Bangsam Paraga. Was at the Leso of Jama. Canadian Independent College of Education in Bala. Bambordella Bama Vayana 0244 628118. Benny Chamber website so www.cicwatalo.ca. So loaka yo songo Canadian Independent College. Abakam na tetia fano.
Welcome back from that short breather. Let's do some news across the borders of Ghana now. And Somalia will hold its presidential election 15. The Somalia parliament announced Thursday that the long-awaited presidential election will finally take place and that 329 lawmakers from both houses, 54 from the Senate or upper house and 275 from the lower house, will elect the country's 10th president. The presidential election date will coincide. The country will also commemorate the 79th anniversary of the Somalia Youth League, formed on May 15, 1943 by 13 young activists who spearheaded the struggle for a united and independent Somalia in the 1940s and 1950s. The committee said the presidential candidates will address Parliament on May 11 and 12 on their policies ahead of the vote. The presidential election, which is 15 months after Somalia concluded parliamentary elections in April. Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed, known as Farmajo, whose term in office officially ended on February 8, 2021, has been under pressure after the election date passed without resolution of issues related to how the vote would have been conducted in Somalia. Third term in office. The 84-year-old former leader was overthrown in a coup d'etat in September by a military junta that now leads the West African country. The ex-president and his supporters are accused of several charges, including complicity in murder, abductions, torture and illegal detentions, according to documents from the General Prosecutor's Office signed by Attorney General Charles Alphonse against Condé. Guinea's electoral violence in 2020 killed at least 12 people in the capital and 50 people in other parts of the country, according to the document. Condé's bid to extend his rule to a third term after backing a constitutional referendum that alerted the term limits sparked violence in October 2020, only to be ousted following the September coup d'etat by a military junta. Editor of ZA Media, Dr. Moses Kofi Yaya. Take a listen.
Tuesday was Press Freedom Day, but journalists in Ghana observed the occasion with deep apprehension and a heavy heart. And it was all because they wrote volumes about their work environment and the daily grind they go through in performing their duties. No one can argue with the fact that press freedom in Ghana in the last several years has become a farce, an illusion, and has slowly morphed into a fleeting dream. We live in a highly charged, polarized, and dangerous political environment where there is low tolerance for divergent views and transparency. This in turn has made it excruciatingly difficult for journalists to discharge their duties effectively. Ghanaian authorities, for pure political reasons, shamelessly threw obstacles and constraints in the path of Ghanaian journalists. Small wonder, therefore, that it has become normal these days to intimidate, attack, threaten, and abuse courageous journalists. And, frighteningly, these ugly deeds are a daily occurrence. A journalist reports what a high-ranking politician doesn't like, and before you can say jack, tags are despised to teach that journalist a lesson. What an absurdity. And the perpetrators of the violence walk away scot-free, never to be prosecuted. The murder of Ahmed Swali, the investigative journalist, a few years ago, prime example of how far certain entities and individuals in Ghana would go to intimidate and silence the media for simply discharging its responsibilities. Mr. Swali's killing was a blot on the national conscience and a stain on our collective reputation. Yet, inexplicably, the murder remains unresolved. Predictably, the government's response to downgrade by Reporters Without Borders was the usual political foot dance. Kojo Opong Nkrumah, the information minister, religiously defensive 4-page convoluted statement, which only strengthened the narrative that Ghanaian authorities just pay lip service to press freedom. Let me be clear-eyed here. The absence of press freedom complicates democracy. Public officials become more brazen, corrupt, and contemptuous, and journalists are too intimidated to hold them accountable. The hope here is that the Ado administration will listen to the assessment by Reporters Without Borders. It is a wake-up call, but don't hold your breath on that one. Good evening, and have a pleasant weekend.
And that was today's news commentary, written and read by the managing news editor of ZA Media, Dr. Moses Kofi Yaya. And on that note, we draw the curtains down to this afternoon's news before I take leave of you. Stories that made our major headlines. Chairman of a Public Accounts Committee asked government to explain how banks will conduct internal audit after e-levy commences operation. Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana bemoan unavailability of subsidized fertilizer to farmers for this year's crop season. And on the foreign front, Somalia sets date for long-awaited presidential elections. Very grateful for your time this afternoon. There's more news on our website, zaradio.com. Visit for more updates. My name is Jonas Biaurbi. Do have a good afternoon.